Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Stoltari, and I am a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last several years, I've been focusing my attention on discovering more about les filles du roi and then les filles mariées, the marriageable girls, which is what we're going to be doing today. And before we begin exploring these amazing women, I wanted to let you know how you can support the channel. Subscribe, which you just click on, it doesn't cost anything. Like, helps spread the news. And notify, keeps you in the loop. The next way is a little bit bigger. It means that you're contributing financially from 99 cents a month all the way up to $24.99 a month. And all of those can be canceled at any moment, but you can also show your support. And in that, each level has a different perk and a different special, if you will. So have a look at that. I have the link posted for you there as well for you to check that out. So without further ado, today's episode of Les Filles Mariées is episode 108, Barbe Poisson. She is someone that I simply picked out of a hat, essentially. I was just going through some of the profiles and I went, oh, I like that name. And I knew of Poisson, I knew that family name, and I grew up with it. So I thought, oh, let me explore this. I was amazed by what I discovered. Born in 1631 in Mortagne, au Perche in France. Her parents were Jean Poisson and Barbe Poisson. You can see that they are from Normandy and from the Orne department. And this is an area where so many French people have come from. This is an area where probably the vast majority of French Canadian blood that has that Normandy essence has people that have come from this particular area. It truly is, the Saint-Aubin and all of that is truly a monument to their bravery for coming so early on to New France. They were explorers, and the people from Mortagne au Perche truly are spectacular. Would come with her brother Jean and her sister Matrène. Jean was married, and he would come with his two children as well. And she was 14 years old, very, very brave. The groom that showed up, his name was Léonard Lucos, de Barbe, and he was born in 1626 in a place called Auray, France. His parents were François Lucos and Madeleine Mouqueton, and he is from the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region, and inside of that region, he is from the Haute-Vienne region, département. There are about 1,000 people that live there, and it's close to the place called Limoges, which we all know, Limoges, France. And Auray is a very small, very historic village in the ancient region of Limousin in France. Very rich history that reflects both the rural and very monastic heritage of the area, influenced by the religion and agricultural tradition. And Auray has roots going back to the medieval period, with its name linked to Saint Auray of Limoges, a hermit who lived in the area in the 6th century. During the Middle Ages, Auray and the surrounding areas were part of a network of small religious communities connected to major monasteries, particularly the Abbey of Saint Martial in Limoges. The village was part of a broader monastic network that maintained influence over the region's spiritual and social life. The Église Saint-Aurélien is a very significant church, and it was likely built between the 12th and 14th century. So you can see how beautiful it really is, and this quiet, really kind of almost, I don't want to keep using the word monastic, but very, very serene spot in it. It really is an amazing kind of little slice of some kind of serenity. You know, you kind of look at it and you imagine that people there have this sense of how to be, almost, you know. I like to imagine where these people come from and what it gives them in terms of their DNA almost, you know. Léonard would arrive in New France so early, 1642, Remember, we talked about Montreal being formed in 1642. So he was one of those very brave souls who decided to take a chance and come to New France and see what he could do. On October 12th, 1648, Barbe would marry Léonard in Montreal. Obviously, Montreal, Ville-Marie as it was called, was founded in 1642, as we've discussed, by the founder Paul de Chamédy, Sœur de Maisonneuve, and was basically a missionary center. So I find that really interesting that Léonard would come to this place that was supposed to be like a mission. And he was coming from this very spiritual place in France. It didn't turn out so spiritual. The colony would not thrive, and it was on the verge of extinction when Chamonix decided to return to France to recruit 100 settlers who would become known as the Grand Recrues. One of the reasons why it was so challenging is if you look at the map, you'll see that Montreal is an island. And obviously that was a great weakness because you could attack it from any different spot. It also became its greatest strength because you could enter it as well and do business. The Vieux Montréal that you see up there is really and truly a marvelous. You really feel as if you're back in that era when you go to the old Montreal and see it. It really is something you need to see. The church Notre Dame as it exists now, and then you see the church as it would have existed in the 1700s. This image here is from the Musée de Pointe-à-Calière, and I have given you the link as well. This is kind of an image of what it might have looked like in 1642, kind of that fortress. And of course, the beautiful, beautiful skyline that is Montreal. I love that city. Léonard and Barbe would have a child named Marie. Marie's godfather was none other than Paul Chamédy de Maisonneuve and the governor of Montreal, and Adrienne Vivier, the wife of Robert Cavelier, Sœur de la Celle. I mean, you can't. These are amazing godparents. She would go on to marry René Couillard and have 16 children, 10 of whom would make it to adulthood, 9 who would leave descendants. Unfortunately, their happiness was short-lived. Léonard would die at the hands of the Iroquois on January 18, 1651. He was all of 25 years of age. Just heartbreaking. He and Barbe would have been married approximately not even 3 years at that, 2.5 years at that point. Just such a tragic loss. The second groom that would come to her aid his name was Gabriel Celle de Duclos. He was Sœur du Celle. He was also born in 1626, and he was from a commune called Nona in France. His parents were Jean Celle and Colas Regueur. He is from the Normandy region, and in that region, he is part of the Département of Calvados. Nona has approximately 513 people. It's a very charming village, and it's nestled about 5 miles from Bayeux, which is a larger town. Known for its beautiful countryside, Nona features rolling fields and historic architecture, including the Église Saint-Martin that you see above, 12th century church. And this village offers really, when I was researching it, a glimpse into Normandy's really amazing history and culture. And they actually produce things like apple cider, Calvados, which is a type of apple brandy, and cheeses like Camembert. And this is kind of like I want to go there. That's all I got to say. This definitely is on my bucket list, just because it's real. I want to find it and find out how I can kind of, experience what Normandy would have been like. Gabriel would come to New France in 1645, and he was noted as a servant of the Jesuits at Trois-Rivières at one time. But by 1651, he had relocated to Montreal. By the end of 1651, on November 19th, Barbe would marry Gabriel Celle. So she started this 1651 losing her husband, and by the end of the year, she was rebuilding her life with a new person. Now, Gabriel was truly a man of vision. He was both a civil and criminal judge, and from all accounts was truly a, a man of honor and principle. Barbe proved herself to be no slouch either. In 1661, she took it upon herself to bring rifles to an armed militia battle. Here's the quote that I'm going to read it to you because I couldn't believe it. Since there were no men in the vicinity, she herself took an armful of rifles and, not fearing a swarm of Iroquois that she saw streaming in from all over, up as far as her house, she hurried to our Frenchmen, who were being pursued, and ran up to Monsieur de Moine, who had enemies on his back, ready to seize him. Having reached him, she gave him the weapons, which greatly strengthened the Frenchman and held the enemy at bay. Can you imagine? That's just amazing. When I read that, I was just overcome with admiration for this woman. They would end up, Barbe and Gabriel, having 10 children. Lambert would die at 5 years of age. Marguerite would marry Joseph Cartier and have 3 children, all of whom reached adulthood. She then married Nicolas Pertius and would have 1 child, who also reached adulthood. Gabrielle would marry Anne Missy and have 7 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Anne's mother was Anne Lemoyne, a fille mariée, who we featured in episode 10. And I've given you the link to that. Barbe married Louis Charbonnier and had 1 child who made it to adulthood. She then married Pierre Lamoureux and had 1 child who made it to adulthood. Claude, Marie, and Jeanne. Unfortunately, they all passed away. But this is the first example of triplets I had seen in all these many, almost 300 videos I've done of Les Filles du Roi. And married Louis Juillet and had 4 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Louis' mother was Anne Antoinette Lucos, who we featured in episode 90, and I've provided the link for you as well. We have Jeanne, who married Gilles Denis Etienne and had 3 children, 2 of whom made it to adulthood. We have Alexandre, who married Marguerite Perrault and had 1 child, who made it to adulthood. Marguerite's mother was Michel Laflotte, who we featured in episode 60, and I provided you the link as well. In 1671, Gabriel would pass away at the much too early age of 48. He and Barbe had had such a life, but they only had 20 years. But oh, what a 20 years they had. By the 1681 census, Barbe is listed as a widow, veuve, with her children Lambert, that is Gabriel Lambert, who's 22, Catherine, Jeanne, Alexandre, 1 gun, 8 bêtes à cornes, which 8 horned animals, and 40 arpents à valeur, which is about 33 acres of land. Barbe would live on for another 40 years, dying at the age of 80, a remarkable woman who left us a legacy of 247 descendants. I mean, how could you not admire this woman? She's just remarkable. I wanted to give you some information on the Poisson family, and that includes her brother and all of that. So you can look for that in episode of our French Canadian Ancestor, volume 6. And I've given you the link to the Facebook group that has so many of these wonderful files. It's truly a great group to subscribe to, and they have so much information for you. Unless you can find this particular edition in a local library or you own it, they're very, very hard to find. So that is the best way to get the information on the Poisson family. And of course, we have information on Gabriel in the same place. This one is this is volume 20, Finding Gabriel, in the same with the same Our Free French Canadian Ancestors group, and I've posted the link as well for you. And yet more information on Montreal. This is for the women of Ville-Marie. Susan McNally, that is a fabulous book. I've provided a link that you can order it on Amazon, unless your local library has a copy. If you read French, Les Filles du Roi, Pionnières de Montréal, from the Society of Histoire du Filles du Roi. Again, I posted the link for you to order it if that is something you would like to do. Wow, what a story. I have to tell you, Barbe Poisson, for me, was just the ultimate warrior. And I wish she was my grandmother. So those of you who can claim her should be very proud. She's just a woman of substance, a woman who defied the odds and truly lived life on her own terms. She came from that kind of family as well. And so the Poisson family is definitely one that we can admire and really respect for their contributions to New France. So thank you, Barbe, for being just an inspiration to us all. And we bless your memory, and we are so grateful that you came to our shores. And I also want to say thank you to my patrons, supporters, and subscribers. You all are the wind beneath my wings. Thank you so much for all that you do for me. So I thank you so much. And with that, I will see you on the next episode of Les Filles Mariées. Until then, au revoir.